Manhattan shooter. So, you've been seeing some stuff, basically mentally ill or crazy man, however you look at it, came into a building with an AK and took some people's lives. So we're going to get over into that, talk about the letters and other things like that they found, and just a breakdown of how some of the people was feeling. So let's jump over right into that and see what it's talking about. Let's get into it.
Morning, authorities say they know the identity of the man behind a deadly mass shooting in the heart of New York.
Pure evil came to the heart of our city.
Oh, yeah. Authorities say the man in this photo is 27-year-old Shane Devin Tamura of Las Vegas. They say he's the man seen here walking towards 345 Park Avenue in Manhattan last night. In his hand, an M4 rifle.
The shooter entered the lobby, turned right, and immediately opened fire on an NYPD officer. He then shoots a woman who took cover behind a pillar and proceeds through the lobby, spraying it with gunfire. He makes his way to the elevator bank, where he shoots a security guard.
Officials say the suspect, wearing body armor, then went to the elevator where a woman was getting out. He allowed her to get away unharmed. He then rode to the 33rd floor to the offices of Rudin Management, the owner of the building. There he allegedly walked the floor, firing rounds, striking and killing a woman, before police say he turned the gun on himself. Police releasing this image of the weapon.
Let's bat it up. I'm not going to stop it too much, but y'all heard that part where they said a woman, he let a woman get off the elevator. I'm assuming he didn't have a grudge against her. I don't know why I can't imagine what's going through her mind, because she was spared, because it was only his judgment that made her where she lived or died. But Jesus Christ. But let's keep going into this.
There he allegedly armed. He then rode to the 33rd floor to the offices of Rudin Management, the owner of the building. There he allegedly walked the floor, firing rounds, striking and killing a woman, before police say he turned the gun on himself. Police releasing this image of the weapon. Workers inside the 44-story building were told to shelter in place, some using this office furniture to barricade a door.
We heard multiple shots go off in quick succession from the first floor, and a lot of us just rushed into the room. Some went out in the back door, out onto the street. Other people, including me, we ran into the conference room and then eventually barricaded the tables across the doors and just stayed still.
Police in tactical gear rushing in as terrified employees rushed out, their hands.
I can't imagine how scared I would be. Jesus. Like I said, we got to pray for the family, but Jesus Christ.
In the air, some later embracing loved ones, grateful to be alive, while officers outside were seen here performing CPR on a man. In all, 5 people were shot. 4 were killed. 1 man was left in critical but stable condition. The NYPD officer killed was 36-year-old Diderul Islam. He was off-duty working security for the building. He leaves behind 2 young kids and a wife pregnant with their 3rd child.
He died as he lived, a hero.
Officials say the shooter arrived in the city just hours earlier after driving his BMW across the country.
What is he? I don't know. Oh, Jesus, this man is sick.
In his car, authorities say they found a revolver, ammunition, and medication. Police overnight descending on his home in this gated community in Las Vegas. Police there are telling the NYPD that Tamura had mental health issues but did have a license for his guns. An investigation into a possible motive is underway as authorities question why the office building, which also houses the NFL headquarters and multiple financial firms, was targeted. Meanwhile, another deadly mass shooting in America in the last 24 hours.
We'll get into that a little, it's most likely tomorrow, into that shooting, but that is absolutely crazy. What can go? They said he was angry at the NFL Jesus Christ. Absolutely crazy. But we're going to get over into the next video where it talks about the letter. But God, we just got to pray for the families of the people who lost their lives. The pregnant, God, it's always when a cop is killed, it's swear the cop or a fireman swear it's like their wife is always pregnant. Well, so, got to pray for him. We know policemen do a dangerous job, and it's God, let's pray for him. But let's get over into this next video.
Rob, just the brazen way this suspected shooter walked into this building, his weapon by his side in broad daylight during rush hour in Manhattan. What do you make of that?
He was determined. He drove the entire way out, and they had him tracking through New Jersey, I think somewhere in the 4 to 4:30 p.m., and got into Manhattan and did this around 6:30. So he wasn't even stopping to think about it. He's been fantasizing about this. He had these actions in his mind, and he just got out of his vehicle. He even left another weapon and more ammo in the car, got out with this weapon, probably a spare magazine or two, and then just walked in and started shooting. And I think that's where you really have problems with how do you react to that? I mean, action always beats reaction every time. If he walked into a building, even the uniformed police officer is seeing thousands of people come through those doors and not expecting that. And even if he saw the weapon, by then to get his weapon out and actually use it in a force that could counter it was really tough. And then he just proceeded to go in. And I don't know exactly how he got on the elevator.
Man got on shades, ready to. Oh my God. They say he had mental issues, but he was still able to carry it to get a gun and legally have a gun. They said it was registered to him. So I wonder what kind of mental issues he had. I wonder
to get to the third floor. Normally those buildings require some type of badge to access the elevators. But again, determined with an assault rifle is tough.
Danelle, what kind of preparation or planning do you think could have gone into this?
Well, more is going to come out in the days and weeks coming ahead, but it clearly, as Rob just said, this individual was what we call a determined assailant. This is what we would call an act of targeted violence. Many jurisdictions, cities, and states have some type of mechanism to kind of detect this. But quite honestly, if this individual left no breadcrumb trails or what we call leakage online, didn't tell anybody what he was going to do, it's very, very hard to stop these lone actors. And so if he's kind of concocted this notion that the NFL is the root cause of his medical illness, his mental illness, and he hasn't shared that with anybody or any threats, he could have been baking this plan for a while, and clearly, he planned this to the T. Double parking in front of the building. I lived in that area in New York City. He passed by literally dozens of skyscrapers that are just like that. So this is clearly a targeted
he was on a hunt.
He's probably been planning it for a while and maybe even keeping it to himself.
Some people.
One of the clues at this point, Rob, is the note found in the suspect's wallet that said, quote, "Please study my brain for CTE." And, quote, "The league knowingly concealed the dangers of our brains to maximize profits. They failed us." Likely referencing the National Football League. In that second quote, we know the NFL had an office there in this particular building. Or Tom Winter did say that there's no evidence that he ever played in the NFL. But how do you see investigators using that note and this information?
So he never played in the NFL, but he's targeting the NFL because they're a major football league. And I guess he got hurt in high school. At least, I don't know for sure, but if he never played for the NFL, he probably played in college or high school. I can't say it's never right to take your frustrations out, especially going to kill somebody when they haven't threatened your life. It's crazy. Now, do coaches can I see coaches, especially at high school level, some bad coaches telling kids to keep playing on when even though they're concussed? Yes, I can see that happening. I can definitely see that happening. I can see that happening at all. But going out and taking it to the NFL office when you never even played in the NFL, and just in general, just shooting up a office building because you're upset what a group of people did and they didn't even physically touch you. That's absolutely crazy. Let's keep going.
As it fits into the investigation.
You have to take it once they determine that in fact it's his words, it's his handwriting. He was actually quoting a former NFL player in that quote about playing in the NFL and how the NFL failed him. That player had committed suicide. He kind of referenced that by drinking the gallon of antifreeze. So his note was a little bit confusing on how he was talking about it because he did never play in the NFL. But I actually started suspecting CTE yesterday. Again, when you look at the building and who was in there because it was so targeted. I saw an interview with him after a high school football game. And then when I heard he shot himself in the chest, that's the same way Junior Seau committed suicide in order for them to study his brain. So all three of those started leaning me towards the CTE. And then when the note came out, obviously he referenced it. They're going to have to talk to acquaintances and friends and family to see if he's talked about it in the prior life. But then again, he may not have. He may have done this all in his brain, all in his own fantasy of doing this and carrying it out. So it is really tough.
I want you guys to listen to a witness who was in this building at the time of the shooting. Watch this.
I was part of a room of about 150 people watching a presentation on the second floor large conference room. We heard multiple shots go off in quick succession from the first floor, and a lot of us just rushed into the room. Some went out in the back door, out onto the street. Other people, including me, we ran into the conference room and then eventually barricaded the tables across the doors and just stayed still. I think it was very, very apparent through all this that a lot of us were young. A lot of us went through training in elementary school of what to do in an active shooter situation. We were all...
And that's very sad to say. That's very sad. You got to go through training as a kid. Yeah, I've definitely had drills about an active shooter, had drills about, active shooter. I can't. Yeah, it's sad that we have to do that as children, especially in elementary school, but it's the world we're living in now.
Fortunately prepared.
Unfortunately prepared. Danelle, how can any workplace guarantee safety for their employees?
No, we're seeing the evolution of high school shooting training, assailant training. These individuals were probably trained in elementary school and high school, and then they're growing up and they're adults and they're applying these skills. I'm sure that building and other large buildings will start looking at what they can do to protect badge access, things like that. But once again, you had an NYPD officer in the lobby. He's there as a deterrent for normal crime. He's certainly not there to combat a determined assailant. I think we'd be remiss in mentioning the fact that the current administration, the Trump administration, has plans to rescind over $1 billion in funding for Homeland Security for the state and locals, specifically to combat this type of threat. It's called the Targeted Violence Terrorism Prevention Program. It's a grant program. I was just speaking to somebody who was starting what we call a threat assessment center on the West Coast, and he was laid off before they even got it off the ground. So there's programs out there, but they're poorly funded, and now it looks like they're going to be going away.
Mm-hmm. That is absolutely crazy. Now we're going to do, there's one more video just talking about it. Basically just goes into more about the investigation and the second note that they found. Jeez.
They found a second note from the gunman in the deadly New York City mass shooting. Police say they found the note at the shooter's home in Las Vegas. Sources tell ABC News it was in part an apology to his parents. And we're learning new details about the attack as well and the victims who lost their lives. ABC's Eka Jachi.
Let's, like always, let's pray for the victims' families. This is, you would never think just going to work one day and then active shooter comes in, mad at the world, mad at the company, and just ends up taking your life. Jesus Christ, I can't imagine that. Well, let's keep going.
Here in New York with more on that. So, what are we learning about this apology note that the shooter wrote to his parents?
That's right. So investigators, they're still combing through all the evidence that they can find about Tamura, and they've led themselves to Las Vegas, where this entire incident began. So they went through his home, in which he owns, and they found that second note which law enforcement sources say partially was an apology to his parents. Now, authorities are still reviewing the content for further insight into Tamura's actions and possible triggers for his actions. They believe that his primary target was the NFL headquarters that was located on 345 Park Avenue. And they do this because they've seen the extensive references, not only in that second note, but that first note. Remember, investigators found that 3-page note on his person that essentially accused the NFL of concealing the dangers of football-related head injuries. Obviously, he claimed he suffered CTE that is not able to be determined while he's still alive. Nevertheless, investigators are also discovering that he had several mental health crises back in Las Vegas, where he lives, once in 2022, another in 2024. They also know that he still maintained his CCW license, his concealed carry license, that the Las Vegas Police Department gave.
Come on, let's talk about that. That is crazy. How do you have multiple mental health issues come up and multiple, I don't know, have so many mental problems and you're still allowed to keep your CWP or CWW, whatever they call it over there? Jesus, that just doesn't make sense to me. That does not make sense to me. It should be at least flagged or something like that. Be like, oh, well, this needs to be further developed. Like, why is he going through a mental health crisis? Does the crisis affect his judgment on having a gun or not? Or him or her? Jesus Christ, people. Jesus Christ.
Gave him in 2022, despite Nevada's red flag laws that were instilled in 2019. But again, the police, they're still working to understand his actions and whether or not anybody assisted him in this back home. But again, back for the NFL part, there's still no link between Tamora and the NFL from what investigators are looking at.
Now, officials say he was targeting NFL headquarters, but ended up in a different office because he got on the wrong elevator. What more are investigators saying in terms of the actual timeline of what happened here, how he pulled off this attack?
Well, essentially, the entire incident started when Tamora walked into that lobby at 345 Park Avenue. That's when he immediately shot an off-duty NYPD officer, and then he shot another woman that was taking cover. Now, he fired several shots in the lobby. That's according to law enforcement sources and surveillance video, injuring others, then shooting a security guard at the elevator bank. This is where investigators say he made what apparently would be labeled a mistake in his mind, him wanting to go to the NFL headquarters, unfortunately instead ending up at Rudin Management, where more injuries and another unfortunate fate.
You don't even end up at the, oh my God, it's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. The fact that you go and try to shoot up an NFL place who you never played for, but you end up on the wrong floor or at the wrong location, the wrong part of the building, and killing people. Yeah, even if he didn't kill himself, shoot himself, in jail for life. He needs to be under. I don't want to hear him going to mental health facility. No. It's already gone past him needing to be in a facility. He needs to be in prison. But let's finish up this video.
Fatality happened, but law enforcement, first responders, after that, they locked down and evacuated the building. We saw that video where several people were exiting the building with their hands up in the air, and they're still trying to obviously determine, and look through all of the evidence to just find out what exactly triggered this entire attack, Diane.
And what about the victims? What's the latest on them and their backstories here?
Right, so we do know that first off-duty police officer was 36-year-old Didaru Islam of the NYPD. He was a Bangladesh immigrant that immigrated to the United States. He served at the NYPD's 47th precinct in the Bronx for 3.5 years. He was working as an off-duty security officer at the time when he was killed. He survived by his wife, who's 8 months pregnant at the time of the shooting.
8 months?
He has 2 young sons. We know about Wesley LaPatner. She's the Blackstone executive. She's survived by her husband.
Hopefully the mother is all right, because I know all that stress just that close to the pregnancy or the due date can't be good for the baby inside the belly. Jesus Christ.
Husband and 2 children. We know Julia Hyman, which sources are starting to uncover. 27-year-old Julia Hyman. She was killed on the 33rd floor after the shooter mistakenly accessed the Rudin Management where she works. We know about Alan Etienne. He's one of the building security guards. He was fatally shot while serving his security role in the torso. And we also know that another individual is injured, an NFL employee. His name right now is being withheld. Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, mentioned him in the statement.
Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. I cannot. There's nothing to say about it. You got to pray for the family. Tell me your thoughts. Is it this man went to the NFL headquarters because he was upset that I'm assuming that the coaches made him play when he was concussed technically, and he's blaming all that on his mental health issues that he's experiencing now. He goes to the NFL, which he never played for. Let me repeat, never played for the NFL. He didn't go to his school. He didn't go to the school that it happened at. He didn't go to the coaches. No, he went to the NFL headquarters. Wild. Absolutely wild. Tell me your thoughts on that. Tell me your comments. Tell me if you agree with any of the things I said. Like I said, always, we need to have a discussion on this stuff. It is absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy to think about. All right, everybody, remember this is AC Reviews the Word. Remember to like and subscribe.